Hello and welcome back to another day in the arena. It's me, Jimmy D, and we just got hosted by Covert Co Blue, CGB. Thanks, CGB, I appreciate that. What's up, my friends? Welcome, complete set review. That was the wrong sound effect. I'm the worst. Complete set review, Zendikar Rising is here. I'm pumped. You should be too. You want to know why? Because white's done with, and now we're doing blue. That's right. Blue is here. Complete set review. Every single card, constructed, focused, but limited as well, because of course, limited is, most of the cards are not going to see playing constructed, so limited as well. Going over all the cards, we're doing our best in show for every color. If you missed any part of this, it'll all be up on YouTube. Watching on Twitch, make sure you follow. Of course, check out my sponsors, CoolStuffInc.com, Cardboard Live, Colas Apparel, go buy a Pile Driver shirt, and of course, BCW Supplies, promo code GYM10. I'm ready. CGB, are you ready for 10 new brews? 10 new brews coming up, early access stream. I'm sure I'll see CGB on there. And of course, my article will be up on CoolStuffInc.com for that. Let's go blue right now. Let's do this. We have our first card in Anti-Cognition. Trying to get me to say things wrong, and I won't do it here. I refuse. 2-mana instant. Counter target creature or planeswalker spell. Also, its controller pays 2. If an opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard, instead, counter that spell, then scry 1. So, kind of like Rune Snag, Quench and Essence Scatter had a baby, but it's kind of like an ugly baby a little bit. This card's okay. Obviously, if you have milled 8 cards, this card is very, very good. It's a hard counter spell for a creature or planeswalker, and you scry 2. That's nice. There's just one really, really big problem in standard right now, and that of course is Euro Titan of Nature's Wrath. So all of the self-mill cards need to be looked at from a pretty damaged lens, because if you get up 8 cards into your opponent's graveyard, they're just going to exile a Euro, put the best card in standard into play, and turn off all your cards. So I know, Euro impression too. What a stream, right? And so unfortunately, honestly, in my opinion, Scree, thanks us up, appreciate that. I don't think Euro is going to be legal in standard this time next year, because it's also really good with landfall too. So these rogue kind of mill cards will probably have their day in the sun as time goes on a bit. But until then, we'll see. So this card it's okay. I'd rather play Essence Scatter, which I believe is legal in standard right now. Not enough upside here. And the thing is that all of the mill kind of cards mostly center around rogues and triggering rogue effects. So you're probably a creature deck. So a creature deck is more concerned about countering non-creature spells typically. They cast in, a Wrath of God, or, some sort of big sweeper or big finisher, or Enter the God Eternals, whatever it is. That's the card you usually want to counter. So this card doesn't seem great. Again, Euro's a big part of that. Quench is not too great. It's tough. It's tough. I guess Euro will rotate next year, sure, but whatever. They're going to ban Euro at some point. So not thrilled about this card. In Limited, it's also pretty narrow. Milling 8 cards in Limited is a lot, and it's just too finicky. I just don't like Quench. It's just too narrow. I'm not about it. Not about it. Bane Veil? Sure, maybe. 2-mana instant. Creatures your opponent's control get -2, -0 to end of turn. And of course, it is a flip spell land. So I'll briefly go over these real fast. Again, we have the dual spell lands. You missed the first part of this video, or first video in the series. These are cards that you can play either or. So one side is Bayin Coast, one side is Bayin Veil. And we have this issue of it's a land or a conditional spell. Doesn't make it necessarily good. Usually these conditional spells have cycling, so you can kind of cash in if it doesn't really work. Later in the game, you're not really going to want to land for the most part. So this is like one of those okay limited cards where you might blow your opponent out. Usually this card costs 3, so 2 is a little better. But the fact that you can't cycle it or make it a useful card later in the game is kind of sketchy. This is like a weird combat trick, kind of hard to use. Opportunity cost is kind of low, being a land, but it's just not super exciting. This is a limited only card, if that. Not really thrilled. Could possibly be a fog if against a deck that's playing all 1/1s and 2/2s, but it's kind of not super exciting in any real respect here. Bubble Snare, 1 mana for enchant creature. If it was kicked when it comes into play, you tap the creature. Otherwise, the creature just doesn't untap. This is probably the best version of this effect ever printed. 1 mana to like a creature's already attacked you. You can just like keep it tapped forever. Is honestly pretty fine. And then it's a non-flash version of Capture Sphere, which is a very, very good limited kill spell. This card's a real good limited card. First pickable for sure. Constructed, probably not. We don't really want our tap auras in Constructed, but very, very solid limited kill spell. The fact that it doesn't have flash is not super relevant because you can just main phase this effect. It's kind of fine. And then again, if you're racing, I'm like 2-drop. You're like 2-drop attack. I'm like 3-drop attack. You're like 3-drop attack. If I get to play a 3-drop and keep your creature tapped, that's pretty good. So solid limited card. Not much more, but solid. Cascade Seer, 4 mana for a 3/3. Comes into play, scry X, where X is your party. Limited filler, just a limited 4-drop filler. It is a wizard, one of the harder party creature types. Of course, the party mechanic is all about getting together a cleric, rogue, warrior, or wizard for beneficial effects. Again, I go over that in the first white section a little more depth. Check that out if you'd like to. But this is a pretty fillery card here. Even the payoff isn't that good, and the body isn't very good. It's not a card you want to play usually, but it's all right. Oh, I should have queued up the Baby Got Back sound clip. Oh my God. Nahiri, look at that butt. Sharks the Raging Isle. 4 mana for an 0/17. Everyone likes a good butt, right? 0/17 creature. It has the spells your opponents cast that target this cost 2 more to cast. That needs a keyword. That's a very common ability. It's on Frostite and a bunch of other cards. It needs a keyword for sure. And you can pay 3, and it'll get plus X minus X until end of turn, where X is the number of islands you control. So in a mono blue deck on turn 5, you play a 5th island, activate this. It's a 5/12. Yeah, Thick Crab. This is a pretty fun card. This card's not going to see play constructed. However, it's a cool, fun card. Just the fact that I get to make a booty joke makes the card totally worth it. Definitely good and limited for sure. Just a huge, huge thing. You can do High Alert, Dora, and the Siege Tower. This is going to be a fun, like, against the odds, build around card. You know, you see the Crab People song. That's cool too. Crab People. But yeah, this is obviously just a meme. It's very fun. Good limited card for sure. Seeing the number 17 on a Magic card is very, very funny. But yeah, we like that one. Chilling Trap. Now, if you're looking for a trick in limited, let me tell you, this one's the real deal. This card is so good in limited. All right. You got to have wizards, obviously. I'm assuming that you have a decent mass of wizards in your deck. Without the cantrip, this card is like, it's not really playable. It's, pretty fringe. I love 1 mana tricks in limited. As a cantrip, this card is phenomenal. This card is going to be a blowout a lot of the time. Any 1 mana possible 2-for-1 in limited needs to be looked at real closely. Watch your attacks in the pre-release. Watch your attacks the first weeks on Arena when you're playing limited. Don't get blown out by this card. It's going to be hard not to. It costs 1 blue. But real good limited card. We're not going to see it constructed, but it's definitely a limited card for sure. Very, very nice one. Cleric of Chill Depths. This is the first blue cleric of all time. Like mono blue cleric. That's cool. 2 mana for a 1/3. Whenever it blocks a creature, that creature on tap, next untaps that. This is a limited filler 2-drop. Good defensive 2-drop, honestly. It's a cleric for your parties. I imagine clerics are hard to find in blue. And that's the kind of thing where we had a wizard in white that wasn't super great. But the fact that it's a wizard and it's kind of like an off-color party member is actually pretty nice. So the fact that this is a cleric is probably the most relevant part of this card. But definitely an okay limited card for sure. No constructed here. Concerted Defense. This is a constructed card. Now, 1 blue. Counter target non-creature spell. Your controller plays 1 plus an additional 1 for each creature in your party. This card is awesome. So by itself, it's a 4 spike for non-creature spells. Very similar to Stubborn Denial, which is a really important card. And once you hit 1 party member, it's a Spell Pierce. Phenomenal. Once you hit that 3rd party member, now we're in rarefied territory. We are, 1 mana negate practically. which is awesome. And I think this card is phenomenal. Unlike the things that deal with creatures, we want our party cards to deal with non-creature spells, right? We care about not getting hit by Shadow of the Sky or Elspeth Conqueror's Death or Planeswalkers. The non-creature ones are the tough ones. And if there's going to be an aggressive party deck, this is it. This is the card you want. This card's real good. Like this card a lot. One of the best blue cards in the set, I think. Definitely could see play in older formats as well. This card's real. This card's real for sure. Doesn't take much to be Spell Pierce, and Spell Pierce is already pretty great. And we can go far beyond that as well. So, love this card. Think it's really good. Definitely much worse in Limited. Not a card you want to play super often in Limited, but good for a blowout, high ceiling, low floor. But real good constructed card. Like this one a lot. Confounding Conundrum. Everyone loves this card. 2 mana for an enchantment. It does draw a card when it comes into play. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, if that player had another land enter the battlefield under their control, they have to bounce a land. So this is like the anti-ramp card. I play Rampant Growth, and you got to bounce a land. Or they play Rampant Growth, whatever. First off, totally agree. This card should be white. Why is this card blue? Why is everything blue? Why is True Nemesis blue and not white? Why is this card blue and not white? I don't know. I don't understand. I got nothing. I got not a single thing for you. But definitely the fact that it's a cantrip is pretty good. It's fine. The thing is that you're not stopping the ramp deck from doing its thing. It is funny how this card's bad against Growth Spiral, but now Growth Spiral's banned, obviously. This card was probably printed to be like an anti-ramp card because ramp is so good. But it's all right. I do think it should have been symmetrical as well. It's pretty annoying that you can play this in your Euro deck. But I don't know. I just feel like this is the kind of card where you play it and you slow them down for 2 turns and still lose to the Ugin the Spirit Dragon. I don't know. Be a problem in Modern. This is a good Modern card. This card is definitely good against the Titan decks in Modern for sure. Pretty big game there. The fact that it does cantrip does make it a low opportunity cost, so it's all right. And then in Limited, I mean, it cycles, I guess. It doesn't really do much. Not really happy with that. It is cute at Field of Ruin also. It turns Field of Ruin into like a boomerang, basically, which is kind of cute. So it stacks. That's also true. That's also true. Fetch lands on your turn. That's true too. Maybe I'm underestimating this card. I just see this kind of like narrow hate sort of enchantment, and it's usually not super great. We'll see. I'm probably wrong. This card could definitely be fine, but Coralhelm Chronicler. 3 mana for a 2/2 Merfolk Wizard. Whenever you cast a kicked spell, draw a card and discard a card. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a card with Kicker among them. Put it in your hand. Rest go on the bottom. So now, Kicker, of course, as we said in white, is returning in this set. One of the more popular mechanics. Just because, honestly, everything's Kicker anyway. Like Replicate, just Kicker. Most mechanics are some variation of Kicker. But so this card is a Kicker theme card where we get to loot when we can cast Kicker spells. When they're kicked, specifically, which is a little harder to do. And more importantly, it's kind of just a 2/2 for 3 that just draws a card. I would need to gather or search all the Kicker cards in the set and think about how Kicker would, play. There are other Kicker enablers as well. The rate is decent. 2/2 for 3 that draws a card with upside is certainly reasonable, but you get a lot of Kicker cards in your deck, and I'm not sure exactly why you'd want to do that. Wouldn't kicking your Magic cards decrease their value? Yeah. So yeah, definitely it's a borderline playable card for Constructed. Very solid Limited. Very, very solid. If it's a 2/3 for 3 and you brick, not the end of the world. If you draw a card of us in Limited, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. So, Cunning Geyser Mage. 3 mana for a 3/2. Whenever you kick it, you can bounce a creature. It's okay. A 3/2 Wizard for 3 is certainly okay. It's not great. A 6 mana Mana War. Also not super exciting. It's fine. It's fine. It's not super exciting. Obviously not playable Constructed. Deliberate. It's kind of interesting. This card hasn't happened before. Deliberate's 2 mana instant, scry 2, draw 1. This is the spell version of Omen of the Seas. And of course, being a instant or sorcery that goes to the graveyard has a lot of extra perks against being an enchantment. You know, it's better for Arclight Phoenix and for various other spell instant sorcery effects. This card's okay. As we've seen, you know, Omen can see play. It's obviously good with things that flicker it, but Omen is, you know, almost playable by itself. Reasonable. Definitely a reasonable card. Obviously, this is just preordained as an instant, but it costs 2. This is solid. Definitely better than like Anticipate, I think. Because you can set up your draws a little bit too. Not super exciting, but fine. It's fine. I don't know if it'll see much play in Constructed, but it's kind of almost there. Constructed and Limited, it's fine. I don't think there's really many reasons to play like prowessy stuff in Limited. So we've got Opt at Home. Opt at Home. Deliberate. Worse than Opt. I could definitely buy that. It's definitely worse than Opt. So probably significantly worse than Omen of a Sea too, honestly. So Expedition Diviner. 4 mana for a 3/2 flyer, which is fine. As long as you control another wizard, when it dies, you draw a card. Solid card here. Solid card. With a lot of wizards, this card is pretty solid. Trading up, drawing cards, good and limited. Obviously not playable Constructed, but solid limited card for sure. 3-power flyer, can draw you a card. Very reasonable. Very reasonable. Field Research. Divination ++. Now, I've cast Divination in Constructed many, many, many times. I've top-8 multiple opens with Divination. I've cast a lot of Divinations, all right? And this is just Divination with upside. So we can kick it for 6 mana and draw 3. This card's fine. I don't know if we're currently in a Divination format, but if we are, this is obviously a good one. A little slow. There are a lot of good card advantage outlets. Also, Jace, which we'll see later, is a good 3-mana card advantage card as well. Might not find a home in Constructed, but really good limited card and a card that could see play Constructed for sure. It's not great, but it's a role player, and it could fill that role for sure. Glacial Grasp, 3-mana instant. Tap a creature, controller mills 2, and the creature's not on tap, and you draw a card. So an improved Frost Breath effect. Okay in limited. Cantrips. A little clunky for sure, but definitely a reasonable card in limited. You can definitely play this card if you are so inclined. Constructed, no. Just no. Glasspool Mimic. I'm pretty low on this card. So this of course is a spell land. That's right, spell land. We've got our Glasspool Shore or Glasspool Mimic. Of course, all the spell lands are tap lands, barring the mythics. We'll get to those. This is a 3-mana clone for your creatures. Typically, clones that only clone your creatures are pretty bad. You got to have a pretty specific reason to want to play a kind of card like that because the floor is nothing. The floor is this card doesn't do anything because I have no creatures in play. I think this card's pretty bad. Usually clones are played in kind of like synergy decks, things like that. You want to Risen Reef, so you want to something. You know, Phantasmal Image is real good because it costs 2, and it can target your opponent's stuff. You know, they play a Worm Coil. Now I got a Worm Coil, you know. So I think this card's pretty bad. I think this card's overrated. People are talking a lot about it. I just don't think either side is particularly good. And again, same problem where it's a narrow effect, and you can't cycle it. You just get a land if it doesn't work right. So yeah, if Gyrudo's a thing, we could do this, but it does also, it's an odd mana cost. So good job, Wizards. Can't Gyrudo this one. It's a rogue, sure. I guess you can like copy some other stuff, but it's not. I think this card's pretty much unplayable in most scenarios. In limited, it's okay. Again, low opportunity cost, play as a land, but very unimpressed with this card. We're going in Wooburg. We got much to do. Don't you worry. Inscription of Insight. Was there a white inscription? Isn't there an inscription in every color? Did I miss it? Huh. I thought there was a full cycle of these. Inscription of Insight. 4 mana for a sorcery. Boo. Kicker 4. Choose 1. If the spell was kicked, choose any number. All right, so 4 mana sorcery. Bounce 2 creatures, or scry 2, draw 2, or target player makes an XX illusion, where X is the number of cards in their hand. Good limited card. Definitely a good limited card. Very versatile. Bouncing 2 creatures is fine. Drawing cards is good. Making a creature is also fine. If you kick this card, it is real good. 8 mana is a lot, though. 8 mana is a lot. This card's unplayable and constructed. And then in limited, it's good. It's good. As an instant, this card is good in constructed. Like, actively quite good. It's Glimmer of Genius, which is a great card. But sorcery speed, draw 2 for 4 mana, just not doing it. And I agree. In limited, your goal should be to kick this card. Cast it if you have to. But if you're already at 6 lands and you draw this card, chill. Go for max value. If you kick this card, you probably win the game on the spot. Into the Royal Returns. Reprint here from the original Zendikar. I've always been pretty low on this card. It's okay. Blink of an Eye was legal somewhat recently. I used to play 1 in my control decks. It's a fringe card. If you want to bounce a card, sure. You need a bounce spell. It plays, replaces itself. This is the kind of card that's good when there's a really good card draw engine available and you don't mind the card disadvantage from only playing this for 2 mana. So Sphinx's Rev, Teferi Time Ravel, Teferi Hero of Dominaria. Don't know if we have that right now. So getting the card back from this, at 4 mana, fringe playable. Good draft card though. Good draft card for sure. Looking for some interaction in your deck, this is definitely a good one. Cool art too. Oh boy, Jace Mirror Mage. Is this a best in show? A best in show? No. Very close, though. This is my runner-up for best in show. Jace Mirror Mage is better than you think it is. 3-mana Planeswalkers have a pedigree just by themselves. And then Jace is the first... Jake. Oh, Jake, you crazy Planeswalker. And Jace is also a 5-mana Planeswalker. I'm actually not going to talk too much about Jace because I wrote a whole article about Jace on CoolStuffInc.com. When Jace was previewed, did a full article, tons of paragraphs on Jace and Nahiri. Go look at that. CoolStuffInc.com. I'm not going to waste my words. I've already written tons of words on this card. I think it's very good, though. I think it's very good. For sure. And then very good limited, obviously, as well. It's Planeswalker. You know, Jake, the Mind Sculptor. Jace from State Farm. All right. Next card. Let me give you guys a little bit of a spoiler. Tomorrow on CoolStuffInc.com, it went away. Tomorrow on CoolStuffInc.com is my usual love-hate article. I always do it before a set comes out. I go through the cards in a set that I love and I hate. I stole it from Matthew Barry, who's a fantasy football content creator. He always does his love-hates before the season. And spoiler alert, go read the article tomorrow on CoolStuffInc.com for sure. This is probably my biggest hate in the entire set. I think this card is terrible. I need a good negative sound effect. I don't really have one for that. Think this card's terrible.
Get off my plane.
The problem with this card is that Censor is so good because on turn 2, it's counterspell. On turn 4, it goes away. You get a new card, right? It's good in the early game, and it's good in the late game. As I keep saying with these cards, with these new spell land cards, the land is good in the early game, not really good in the late game, right? So you want your card to be good on both sides of the coin. This is a two-headed coin. It's good in the early game, and it's good in the early game. On turn 4 or 5, you got nothing. You got a terrible force spike and a terrible land, and that's just a terrible deal. Is it playable? Yeah, I mean, this card might see a tiny bit of play, but this is bad. This is just not good at all. Definitely, I think this card is way overrated. People see this, they think Censor. This is not Censor. This card is not good. Not good, not good, not good. Goodbye.
Get off my plane.
In limited, reasonable. Because the land is honestly fine. You have landfall triggers. You're just playing it in a land slot. That's fine. I'm cool with that. But I think this card is real bad. It's going to see very little play. Living Tempest. It's a flash flyer for limited. It's fine. If you need a 5-drop, it'll do. It'll do. Obviously, it gets better if you have counter spells in your deck, things like that. Lull Mage's Domination. Blue X. This spell costs 3 less to cast if your if it targets a creature whose controller has 8 or more cards in their graveyard. So again, we have LOL Euro here, ruining the poor mill strategy, just ruining it completely, honestly. Where you're going to mill them and they're going to play Euro and they're going to be really sad. Let's read it, though. We can read the card. So it costs 3 less if your opponent has 8 cards in their graveyard. Gain control of target creature with mana cost X. So in the best case scenario, this is blue, 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 steal your 3-drop. So busted and limited. Because control magic is just really, really good and limited anyway. 6 mana to steal your 3-drop is good and limited. Constructed, though, I don't know what you're doing with this card. If some sort of like big tokens become a thing, like if there was a card that made a 5/5 trample token or something, you could steal that for blue, blue, blue. Maybe. Taking Euro for 6 mana, that's just not very good, So just not a great constructed card. Good and limited, though. Good and limited. Decent control magic effect. Maddening Cacophony. Sort of like Glimpse the Unthinkable. 2 mana to mill 8. 6 mana to traumatize. Again, Euro, LOL. This card is definitely good if you're a mill deck and limited. Can't target yourself, which is the important part of this. Glimpse the Unthinkable sees a large amount of its constructed play from targeting yourself. Oh, look, Vengevines. Oh, look, Bloodghast, and so on and so forth. So this card can't do that. And we'll see that in a few other cards as well. It's okay. If you're milling people, I suppose it's a decent rate. It's basically a Lava Spike for the most part. Is this card playable in Modern Mill? I think there's already a card that does this. Breaking and Entering is a split card. It's basically Glimpse for 8 on one side and some bad 6 mana Rakdos card on the other side. Doesn't see play in Modern. So I don't think it's will either. Just not as good as Glimpse. Not as good as Glimpse. Master of Winds. We have a 4 mana 1/4 flyer. Comes into play, Catalog. Draw 2, discard 1. But if you cast an instant or sorcery spell or wizard spell, you can flip it to a 4/1 or a 1/4. Obviously unplayable in Constructed because it's a 1/4 or a 4/1 flyer. Decent draft card. Obviously it just draws a card when it comes into play. So that's fine. It's a flyer, it draws a card, but pretty underwhelming. Honestly, it's the year 2020. I'm pretty surprised this card doesn't cost 3, but pretty underwhelming. Just crap rare. Merfolk Falconer, 5 mana for a 4/4 flyer. Good draft card. Cast a kick spell, scry 2. Just your good. See, this is the kind of 5-drop you want limited. We've discussed the 5-drop filler cards. If you can replace one of those with this card, you're very happy. Just very solid draft card for sure. Merfolk Wind Robber, 1 mana for a 1/1 flyer, which is already kind of fine. It's a rogue, so a creature type relevant 1/1 flyer for 1. It's already like almost there. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, they mill a card. You can sacrifice it to draw a card, but only use this ability again if there are 8 or more cards in the graveyard. This card's pretty good, honestly. It's a cheap rogue. It can help turn on your mill effects. It's important to note also, Drown the Lock is a legal card in Standard, and all these Dimir cards that want to mill are just saying Drown the Lock. Let's go. So again, there's a Euro problem, there's a Croxa problem, but if there's some sort of mill rogue deck, this card's definitely in it in Constructed. Limited, same thing. You gotta have some upside for playing this card, but decent rate. He's got little wings. Aww. Negate. Not much to say. Negate does what it does. It's always in Standard. Happy to see it. Nimble Trap Finder, 2 mana for a 2/1. Can't be blocked if you had another party member enter the battlefield under your control. Being in combat, if you have a full party. Creatures you control gain, when this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Good limited card, in that it's a decent 2-drop with good upside. Not a playable constructed card. If this is a 2/1 unblockable, that's not playable constructed. So, and the full party thing is pretty narrow too. So, good draft card, kind of a crap rare. It's fine. Risen Riptide, 3 mana for an 0/5. Kick a spell, it's a 5/5. If you're drafting and you have kicker cards in your deck, it's reasonable. It's definitely reasonable. Kind of cool that like your opponent will attack into this. You could like kick a spell and block. But just it's a fillery limited card. Roost of Drakes, 1 blue for an enchantment. Kicker 3. When Roost enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, make it 2/2. Whenever you cast a kicked spell, make it 2/2. So this is like the lightning rifts or whatever, Drakehaven of kicked cards. Again, I haven't looked at all the kicked cards like together to get a good idea of what's playable and not playable in the format. If there's a critical mass, it's kind of reasonable, honestly. And the fact that it's able to have a fail state later on of still being a 2/2 at least is kind of cool. Definitely a cool card, kind of a build around. Probably not good enough for constructed, unless there's like a lot more kicked cards or kicker cards coming along on the way. There are, maybe in older formats when there's a critical mass. It's a critical mass card. If you have a lot of good cards to kick, this card's good. Burst lightning and things like that. It does count kicked spells. The spell has to be actually kicked, not just a kick spell with kicker being cast. And then in limited, this card's great because its floor is a 2/2 flyer for 4. And if you ever get more than that, you're way ahead. So good draft card. Rune Crab people. That's right. Now you can play 8 Crab. And this is the card that actually matters for Mill and Modern. Mill and Modern is a fringe deck. I played it on a cool stuff video recently with my Oscar-winning acting for the intro. Raise your hand in chat if you like that one. Let me know in the comments if you like that one. And now, 8 Clack. 8 Clack. I love it. And everyone give a hand to easy mode. That's a good one. 8 Clack. So yeah, Hedron Crab, one of the better cards in the Mill deck. Now, of course, Hedron Crab, often used to target yourself. Can't do that with this card. Only opponents. But it's still really good at that. So definitely a good Mill card with fetch lands. Mostly a Modern card only, but definitely cool. Seafloor Stalker. 3 mana for 2/3. Gets +1/+0 on end of turn and can't be blocked. Then it's cheaper for party. It's just a kind of a filler 3-drop. If you're partying really hard, this card's gonna be pretty good in your draft deck. Otherwise, it's eh. Oh, this card sucks. This card's real bad. This is the only mythic spell land I think is actively pretty bad. It's still playable because the opportunity cost is so low. But this card, when are you casting this card and you're happy, right? You've drawn your 8th land, you're playing Magic, you're not behind, and you have cards in your hand to make this draw more than 1 or 2 cards. Aren't you already okay in that game? Do you need this card? You can't tap 7 mana in Constructed these days and not affect the board in any way at all at sorcery speed. 7 mana draw 2, 7 mana draw 3. Just play Boon of Wishgiver, It's a land. Opportunity cost is super low. But 3 life in a blue deck is a lot if you're playing a control deck or a ramp deck. If you're making a lot of mana or doing really broken things, I guess maybe you could do something with this. But in a vacuum, yeah. Limited, again, super low opportunity cost. You're definitely playing this card. But yeah, if this card just drew 4 cards, I would be higher on it, but I still wouldn't be that high on it. Like the white one makes 8 power over 2 bodies. This is just a divination, And on top of all that, it's in a format with Mystical Dispute.
So you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Oh, well, we have our actual best in show right after it, too. Seagate Stormcaller. This card's not Snapcaster Mage, but that's okay. It doesn't need to be Snapcaster Mage. This card's a little closer to Jace Vryn's Prodigy in that it's going to operate on your torn.
Waka waka.
So this card's going to operate on your turn. Sorcery speed stuff. I'm all out of faith. This is how I feel. this is my job and I make an ass of myself on the internet. So sorcery speed stuff, if we copy a shock with this, that's real good. We copy an opt with this, that's real good. Opportunity cost here is pretty low, just a 2-1 for 2, which is fine. It kicks itself, so you can go if you're really flooded, you can go. Garrel says, "Lucky for you, we love a good ass." Appreciate that, thank you. But yeah, definitely super good card. You can double cast duress, things like that. Obviously, this card wants to be in a certain type of deck, a deck playing a lot of cheap spells. And you look at Modern and Pioneer and just good decks in general, that's most good decks. Just playing a lot of good cheap spells, Lightning Bolts, Thoughtseize, Path to Exile, so this card's going to be really good. And then copies of kick spells are also kicked. So yeah, you can really go nuts, which is cool as well. So you can kick something, again, I don't know all the kicked cards off the top of my head, but copy Village Rites, sure. Definitely cool. Definitely cool. I think this card's really, really good. It's a wizard. It's got super low opportunity cost. Just really good. Really good card. Limited, not as good. Less spells to copy, but still quite good, honestly. Sweet. Good card. Best in show. We love it. Shell Shield. Probably a card you don't want to copy. Dive down, dive down, dive down.
Where are they?
Because this is no dive down. 2 mana for Hexproof makes this card unplayable. Is it playable in limited? Yeah. It's a good trick in limited. It's definitely fine. You don't want a lot of them. It's playable. Again, I love 1 mana spells in limited. They're so hard to play around. But yeah, this card's no dive down. I knew dive down, and this card's no dive down. We got dive down at home. Yeah, I'll bet. Solemnity Vision, 3 mana for an instant. Look at the top 6, reveal an instant or sorcery, put it in your hand, put the rest on the bottom. So we have a kind of peer through depths S card. This one's kind of reasonable, honestly. So again, our goal with our flip cards is to be useful on both sides of the coin, right? Early and late. Early on, it's a land. It's totally fine. Late, digs pretty deep for an instant or sorcery. I can see this card seeing play in combo decks and things like that. Maybe control decks as well. Definitely just decks looking for a certain type of card. Being an instant is the game right here. This is a sorcery. It's totally unplayable. But as an instant, end step, dig 6, look for your wrath. That's fine. That's fine. There's a lot of competition because all the flip land sides are the same and you can't play that many of them, but I think this card is quite good. One of the better spell lands for sure. Limited, probably not. You need a pretty high spell density for this to be good in limited, but I think this is a really solid constructed card for sure. Like this one a lot. Skyclave Plunder, 5 mana sorcery, look at the top 3, or X plus 3, X's party members. Definitely not a constructed card. You got to do a lot more than this for 5 mana constructed. But in limited, pretty good, honestly. Playing a party deck, even without a party deck, honestly, it's just a card draw spell for a deck that needs it. If your deck wants to draw cards in limited and can afford to tap mana and not affect the board, that's it. Skyclave Squid, 2 mana for a 3/2 defender. Whenever you play a land, it can attack. If you're defensive, this card's fine. It's a 2-drop. They can trade with most 3 and 4 drops. It's fine. It's a fine limited card. Can attack as well. Just solid. Very solid card here. I like this card. If this card was a 3/3, it would be really, really good. But as a 3/2, still a solid draft card. Sure-Footed Infiltrator. 4 mana for a 2/3. You can tap another rogue and make it unblockable. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. It's okay. This card asks a lot, though. If you're playing a limited game where players are crashing into each other, this card's tough. It asks a lot. It asks you to tap 2 of your creatures to only deal 2 and then draw a card. If you're in any racing scenario at all, that's bad. Old Zendikar format was very fast. Not sure how this one will be. Probably decently fast because landfall kind of pushes you to be on the offensive. I think 4 mana is a little much for this card. If this card costs 3 and it was a 2/2, I think it would be pretty good because you could occasionally just get it in for, not unblockable damage. But at 4 mana, I think this card's not going to play very well in limited. Obviously, unplayable constructed. This card feels like a trap to me. It feels like a trap. Tazium Royal Mage, 2 mana for a 2/1. Kicker 4 comes into play. If it was kicked, return an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard. This card is great in limited. Great. Is it Chronarch and other creatures that return spells are often good in limited. They're just straight card advantage. And you get back a kill spell. That's awesome. The fact that this is also a 2-drop with a relevant creature type on turn 2 when you're a little land screwed. Great. Super, super solid draft card here. Like this card a lot. Thieving Skydiver. Give me that. 2 mana for a 2/1 flyer. Already good, right? Solid. It's a merfolk and a rogue. Relevant creature types, it's fine. What comes into play, if it was kicked, you gain control of an artifact with mana cost X or less. If it's an equipment, you put it on the Skydiver. So, obviously, the cutesy stuff, Colossus Hammer in Modern. Aww. You can Colossus Hammer your own Skydiver. You can steal your own stuff. Very funny. Super cool cube card, obviously. Steal their Skull Clamp. Steal their this. Steal their that. But this card's good. Most of the good artifacts are going to cost 1 or 2. Maybe it's Aether Vial. Maybe it's Relic of Eternitus. Maybe it's whatever it is, And stealing anything like that's going to be really, really good. Definitely a super cool cube card for sure. But your floor here is super high. And your ceiling is also through the roof. Oh, it's actually X or less. So I misread the card. I thought it was X. So it can steal Moxes. That's actually really good. So yeah, it's busted in cube. Steal Moxen, thing like that. So this card's really good. Definitely this is a card that's better in older formats because there aren't really any artifacts to steal in standard, realistically. But there are some kind of cards where the cheaper the spells get, the better they get. This is one of those, Tarmogoyf and so on and so forth. What's up, Chris? And so definitely good in older formats. Super high floor. I mean, it can steal Witch's Oven. It can steal Lucky Clover. Both very relevant. So I'm wrong. Actually, there are good artifacts in standard. So super good one. Super good one. Likes one a lot. Solid card. Yamara Wizard, 5 mana for a 4/3. When you cast instant or sorcery, it gets flying. As far as spell lands goes, this is another really good one in limited. This front card is almost playable by itself, and you just put on a free land in the back of it. Super solid draft card. Good early, good late, good really late because it gets flying. Solid draft card. Wind Rider Wizard. So it's a Wind Drake with upside. If you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you may loot. So another good draft card here. Obviously, looting is great and limited. We get to loot away our lands and so on and so forth. Solid card. It's a wizard. Zulaport Duelist. 1 mana for a 1/1 flash comes into play. Creature gets -2/-0, and then its controller mills 2 cards. Don't underestimate 1-drops with good types. Milling 2 is okay. I do love these sort of fairy trickster effects. They can win combat a lot. Against mono red, turn 1 favorite champion attack. All right, Duelist, shrink your thing, block and kill it. It's sort of a way to play a removal spell in a mono blue deck. It's a card. This is a card. Don't discount this card. It's a little finicky, a little worse than limited, I think, because the body is so irrelevant without extra rogue synergies and things like that. But I like this card. I think Slither Muse, my Ikoria best of show, is gonna finally be good. I think finally. And that's it. That's Z from A to Z. Zendikar Rising complete set review. That's blue. We got more colors to do. YouTube folks, though, look for those in a different video, right? And everyone, don't forget, early access stream next week. 10 new brews, as always. 10 new brews on YouTube, on the stream, on CoolStuffInc.com. My full article. Look for all of it. 10 new brews next week. I'm pumped. You should be too. YouTube folks, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. We got Black coming up next. Stream folks, hold on to your butts. All right, YouTube folks. I'll see you in the next video. I'll see you on the other side.